third siman the Braitz in Menachos is Va'ila Echad Yeshivim Shana. This is maybe one of the most famous simanim. If you ask any kid, what's the chilazim? Chances are he's going to tell you that it's a fish that comes up once every 70 years. And what's interesting is that Rashi, throughout Shas, they bring down 5 times that Rashi mentions the chilazim, and he picks this siman. He doesn't mention any other simanim, and it's not even always that Rashi had to say it. Rashi is just, as he's mentioning Chisal, he says that's the chilazim that we use for Techeles Va'ila Echad La'ayin Shana, and it comes up once every 70 years. It doesn't say Briyosu Doim L'Dag and other simanim of Chazal. So it sounds like from Rashi that this is a siman that's necessary, very siman muvik, that's necessary for the chilazim to be kosher. The shtickle pli is that the Rambam in Hilchos Tzitzis, when he brings down the chilazim, he also brings down the simanim of Chazal. And the one that he's mashmit, the one that he doesn't bring down, is that it's oila echad la'ayin shana. He doesn't mention it at all. Haloi dovaru. Where did the Rambam come from? So the Radziner writes in his sefer. He's bothered with this. He himself addresses it at the beginning of the sefer. But then he got a letter from the Baal Yeshuas Malka of Shua Kutna, and he writes to him, I already wrote, apparently he was bothered, he wrote to him that you don't find in these fish, you don't find that there's Oilul Echad L'Shivim Shana, and he says, the Rambam doesn't bring it down. That means that the Rambam holds it's not a siman. So what does the Gemara mean, Oilul Echad L'Shivim Shana? He goes, it's a continuation with the Vaitantika Gemara. The Gemara says, Oilul Echad L'Shivim Shana, Uvidam of Tzayvim Techeles, Lefikach dam of Yikarim. The Gemara wants to tell you that the dam chilazim is very expensive. Dam of Yikarim is very expensive. Why is it very expensive? Because it's only oila echad that there is this phenomenon by the chilazim. It's not one of the simanim that necessarily Chazal gave to find it. You don't have to look for it and see this matzav of once every 70 years. You don't have to wait 70 years. Versteht sich, if you find out maybe that it doesn't exist, maybe then the vice says it's a raya that it's not the chilazim, but it wasn't one of the simanim that Chazal gave as a siman muvik to the chilazim. It was just a reason why it's so expensive, because when it comes up, it only comes up in he says what it means is oil. It doesn't mean oil that it comes up, like maybe Rashi says, it comes up from the ocean onto the Abosha. Some way they travel onto the Abosha once every 70 years, either on the Nes or naturally. But he said it means that oila means that they're very abundant. They multiply. It's for some reason, one kufi says that ayin shana doesn't necessarily mean ayin shana. Ayin shana is referred in Chazal many times as like once in a lifetime. What happens? But they stay in the water according to the Radziner. They don't come necessarily out of the water, but they're very, very abundant to the point that at that point it's very, very inexpensive. And since this only happens very unoccasional, so mainly the price is very expensive, generally. And that's why he says the Rambam didn't bother bringing it. Because it wasn't something that you necessarily have to know for a fact about this chilazim, that it has it. It's just that, oh, maybe if you know for a carrot, maybe it won't be. Al Kol Panim, he says that Avada, this Chazal said it's Oil L'Shivim Shana, it's Oil L'Shivim Shana. In his way, it means it's an abundance, it multiplies very much. L'maisa is, the supporters of the Murics are also with this. They're also bothered. How is this going to fit in? There's no known phenomenon when it comes to Murics, or for that matter, other snails, that Echad L'Shivim Shana, suddenly they either are abundant more than any other time. There's no cycle of anything that happens every 70 years. Gerade in the Braise of the Masechtas Tzitzis, the Girsa is Echad L'Zayin Shanim. Yeah, but you have to know if that's is that a machlokes? Is the Braise arguing on the Gemara? Is it a mistake in the toes in the Braise? It's not 100% clear. There's Yeshaim L'Kan, and the Wayuniks, they have at least they used to have some mahalach episode. They felt that there was some cycle. Not 7 years, but 7 months, and which is hardly something that's special and unique to the Murex, but somehow they felt that there was some cycle in the way it comes back and forth every 7 months or something, and they wanted to say maybe that's the seven that the Techeles is referring to. Al Kol Panim, the Sefer Chaisam Shel Zav is a kutus written by somebody from Bnei Brak, obviously a very chashuvim man, and he's a proponent to the Murex, he's a supporter of the Murex, and he says that Oilal Shivim Shana by him doesn't mean that the snail, he doesn't mean that the chilazim comes up on its, for some reason if he has a tzad, that it means is that it comes up when it's like 70 years old, it comes up and gets washed up ashore. He says because then, he says, first of all, he doesn't say this, but then it would happen every year because there's always maybe snails that are at that age at any given time. But he says that snails, granted, don't even live close to 70 years. They're not known to live so long, so that can't be what it means that it's Oil Shim Shon when it gets 70 years old, which b'maimer HaMuzgar is not a davar pashut at all. There's a study done by somebody who obviously had a lot of time, and his name is Dr. Douglas S. Jones, and he writes a whole article after a lot of research of growth rings and longevity to the bivalves, which are these type of snails and bulu. And he brings down over here, this is brought down in Sefer Kulei Hafach Lav Tar, written by somebody who lives in Yeshiva in EMG, very chashuv person. His name is Rabbi Sion Rosenberg, and he writes, he brings down over here this thing that within the last few decades, studies of snails' growth structures are focused on the periodic pattern of the shells, and he comes out that while certain, this is from the study done by this Dr. Jones, certain offshore species are known to live over 100 years. And he says, and all of them live over 50 years. He says, it's rather not true that they could definitely live to 70 years. But anyways, he tells us that what it means is that once every 70 years, a tsunami comes and washes up everything ashore. So the Murex also is going to get washed up ashore. He says, we're not aware of these. People don't maybe pay attention to it. Maybe it does come up every so often. He says, but he bases his mahalach on the Sefer HaKoneh. Sefer HaKoneh is a sefer that's written by a Rishon. It's written mostly al pi Kabbalah. And the Sefer HaKoneh writes about the chilazim that the chilazim is oile me'ayam. It comes up from the ocean. V'teikef shiyoytze, and as soon as it comes out, hoylech v'teikeya ba'oretz. It roots itself into the ground. You can't get it out. V'nishras shom. V'roishay b'chutz, but its head is still staying out. V'sheichet inois, in order to get the dam out, you have to shech the head. V'loikchen es damai. Sheboit tzayvin Techeles. So for some reason, he's assuming that what I just read, stems with the Murex. And he says that that's mamish the Murex, basically. And he says that Oil Shim Shana means that it gets uprooted once every 70 years by some outside factor, by some tsunami of some sort. And every 70 years it just washes it up on the shore. He says maybe we don't know about it because maybe we didn't keep track of it for 70 years, which rather would be a Pella Otzum, because in order for the price to change in a Murex, it wouldn't be enough that you have a few thousand that wash up ashore. In order to dye a baguette, a small baguette that's maybe 2 pounds, not a big baguette, you need over 10,000 Murex snails to dye it blue. It's a phenomenal amount of snails you need because it gives out so little, each one. So to say that there's going to be a fluctuation and a difference in price after 70 years, that because it's oil shim shon al fikul dom of yikarim, that would mean that it would have to be something that's mamish, millions and millions of these snails get washed up, and that no one wasn't ever accounted for. But it could be that it could be that that's what Chazal mean. Oil shim shon means that somehow it gets washed up ashore once every 70 years, and Memela, the price goes down at that point, and the only pella is that he brings down the Sefer HaKoneh. He brings down this whole, which is Pashtus, the Svarim say you shouldn't bring a ride for Sefer HaKoneh. Most of it is al pi Kabbalah, and then he tells it to the Murex, and he says that sounds it sounds from the way he brings it down that he understands that the Sefer Kodesh is referring to Mamish Muriks, which is Mamish not Shaykh to be referring to the Muriks with the Nusach of the Balakona. But anyways, that's the way he could be, and it could be this is the Anas of Pshat, Be'etzim Yisayt of Oyel Shum Shana, because there is no known thing that's Oyel Shum Shana. And he says Oyel Shum Shana means like that. It means that once every 70 years or once in a lifetime, something modna happens, some sort of storm of some sort, and pushes it up. Is it an exclusive thing to the Muriks? Pashtus not. It would be by all the snails and anything that's. But that's the mahalach that he wants to go. Mirza Hashem, tomorrow we'll go through this another issue that the Torah also the Lefushar and others want to be miyashiv al pi a Tshuvas Radbaz, very interesting Tshuvas Radbaz.